Hey y'all, welcome back to the Late Night Vision Show. This is a special episode, episode 55, and we're going to get right into the Pulsar Axion XM38 review. But before that, we're going to bring in my buddy, my face-to-face buddy. If you're listening on the podcast, you don't get to see it, but go check it on YouTube. The owner of Outdoor Legacy Gear, Mr. Jason Robertson. How you doing, bud?
I'm good. How are you tonight, Hans?
Man, I'm excited about tonight. So tonight we're out together. We're doing one of the hunts that we do quite regularly. We're going to go out and do some coyote calling, some hog calling to see what we can do. Got to get this podcast nailed first.
That's right.
Everybody wants to see the review of the Pulsar Accion XM38. And we got to do some chores out on the farm, feed some cattle, maybe fix a couple fences. I don't know. Nothing like that.
Yeah. Well, Hans rolls into town today, and we're supposed to go hunting. I've got everything lined up. I've got my laundry room's got rifles stacked up, thermals, everything's charged, ready to roll. And he rolls in and he goes, "You know, we got to record a podcast first." I was like, "No, we can do that later." He's like, "If we don't do it now, we'll never do it." And I'm like, "You're right." So
that is true.
He's the slave driver once again.
So we're going to be, we'll talk a little bit after the review about some things that we got coming up soon, and we want to talk about a few different things. But we're going to get right into, Jason, the review of the Axion XM38. This is the final review of the series of brand new thermal monoculars out from Pulsar. We've done the Key XM30, we've done the non-Key model XM30, and now it's the grandfather of them all, the XM38. Tell us a little bit about what the specs, and
Sure.
I'll be the Vanna White over here and show it. So
Vanna White. Well, I want a new Vanna White. All right, so this is the Axion XM38, and just like the other models, it's got all the same features. It has the removable rechargeable battery pack on it, and it has the
trying to demonstrate this while you're
you can't even get it apart. We've got, there you go, removable rechargeable battery pack. It does have internal video recording. It uses the Pulsar Stream Vision app, and it is a 320 by 240 thermal core resolution. It's 12 microns, and it has got a 32 millimeter objective lens, and it is 5.5 power. So 5.5 power base optical magnification. It does have digital zoom above that. So it's a lot of magnification compared to the XM30, which is 4 power, and the XM30 Key, which is 2.5 power. So this is the largest objective lens, highest magnification, and it all the other same features. It has the picture-in-picture, it has the color palettes. Again, video recording. There is no audio on the video recording. Some people have been asking about that, and the Axions don't have that. But this is it. If you're looking for a long-range, handheld monocular in the, I hate to use this word again, but budget line or more affordable line, this is probably going to be it. So we're kind of going to jump in and talk about this. I don't think I left off anything on the specs.
No, the only thing, and I'm glad I finally get to do this because you're always the one that has to go back. It does. I hope you didn't say it, because if not, I wouldn't pay attention. It's got the objective focus on the front. Yes. And the eyepiece diopter focus on the back. So it's got two different focusable options on it, which does help crisp up the pictures. If you have something that doesn't focus on the objective, it's hard to get sometimes that clear, crisp picture. But this does both, so it's definitely a plus. But I think to be said, some things that Pulsar is trying out brand new, Jason. They've got the multiple color palettes, which in the past they haven't done that. So I was playing with them the other night with a different model. There's several of them, 7 or 8 different ones. You've got a bluer, I don't know the names of all of them, but there's quite a few of them. So that's new for people out there that are wanting a little bit of variety to them. But really the switch from the 380 core resolution stuff now to the new generation with the 320 and the 12 micron, switching from that 17 to 12 micron. We've used these models a lot. We've been out in the field with them a lot. I've had these 3 Axion models for the last, over a month now.
Yeah.
So, we've had a lot of time to test these out in the field and kind of get a good judge on far as what they're going to be and the expectation people can get from them.
Do you want to, I know this is the review of the XM38, but since it's the last one, do you want to just kind of use this as a chance to kind of compare and contrast the 3 models, or you want to?
Yeah, we can get in that now because obviously the big difference are going to be the magnification levels. I think those are the clear-cut magnification levels. the two, I guess, besides the key model, the other two models do include the internal video recording, so that's a big difference. I think when it comes in, you're talking about picture clarity and picture image and quality and all that. Obviously, I think you're going to get the better image out of the optic that has the bigger objective lens on it. So, with this XM30, I think it does produce a very good image.
Well, and it's not just the larger objective lens; it's that, and it's higher magnification.
Higher magnification.
So, objects may be closer than they appear. But actually, they may be further than they appear. But yeah, I think it's a combination of those two things. Yeah. I think if you pick this thing up, I think, and this is something we can get into another show, but if you put two identical optics side by side, and one's got 2.5 power and one's got 4, you're going to say the 4 power looks better if everything else is the same. The animal just appears closer. But again, a larger objective and higher magnification, I definitely think it's going to give the appearance of better image quality. But you can disagree with me here if you want, but this 5.5 power, it's okay in a handheld. I don't personally need a scope with this much magnification. You can. This is the thing I tell people about a handheld, and if you're watching YouTube, I'll demonstrate this. So, a scope with high magnification, you've got that big rifle up, and you're having to move your whole body. And if you're holding it without a tripod, you're not going to be able to hold it very long. And even if you got a tripod, I've done it, scanning, you're going to have to do a feet shuffle. You're going to go 180 degrees. You just can't twist enough to do it. So you're going to move your feet, move around. The thing about a handheld with a lot of magnification and a narrower field of view, it is not hard to move your whole body 180 degrees, twisting at the waist. So the point that I'm making is 5.5 power on a handheld is not the end of the world. But with that said, you still need to understand it's 5.5 power. If you're out there hunting fields where you can see a max of 200 yards, you don't need this optic. Right. This is definitely going to be, in my opinion, and Hans can say, it's going to be for the guy who's hunting wide open country and needs some more magnification. It's not what you want in the woods.
Oh, for sure. And, especially riding around on a side-by-side or on in a truck, if you've got something high magnification, it'll make you a little bit nauseous, sick to your stomach. But, I have friends that have this model, and it's the first time they've ever had a thermal optic in their life, and they chose the one with the higher magnification, and they absolutely love it.
Absolutely.
So, we talked about the 3 different models, and also, to go over the pricing, the key model, $18.99. You've got the non-key model XM30, which is $21.99, and this model right here, $25.99. So as you can see, there's a $300, basically a $300 jump. This is a $400 jump in this model, but so you're getting a little bit more with that extra incremental price difference with the higher magnifications and the different
better image quality.
Correct.
Yeah, and so somebody asked me last week, would I just be better off buying a Helion XQ38 for $3,000? So, that's another $400 jump. And we kind of go back to, it's 3.1 power, so it's going to be less magnification. It is going to be a better image quality, but it's also a larger unit. So you have got to decide what you're looking for. If you're looking for, number one, if you're looking for budget, if you need to stay under $3,000 and you need to be in that 2,600 or all the way down to $18.99, this is the option. You don't even consider a Helion. If you're looking for size and weight, and I know everybody who's listening to these reviews is tired of hearing that, but again, if size and weight is important, you go with this. If it is pure image quality, then I think you go with the Helion. But the image quality on this unit is closer to the Helion than any of the other models. Yeah,
I definitely agree with that. And the reason with the Helion also, you're stepping up into a different price bracket as well. So, for $25.99, I know we said it in the previous weeks, for $25.99, you can get into the thermal game, and I know a lot of people that they don't even have a thermal scope, but they're using a thermal monocular to scan and to spot, and then once they see their object, a hog or coyote, then they're pulling up their night vision scope. And it gives them a little bit more of an advantage, but for $25.99, you're in the thermal game and you're able to be productive and efficient.
I think this unit right here, I would feel very confident in saying, I don't want to say ID range. I'd have to, I don't know. I don't want to say, but I would say detection range. I don't know how far. It's further than I can see, but 400 or 500 yards detecting hogs, coyotes is absolutely no problem. That's no issue. I wouldn't say IDing at those ranges, but detecting, no issue. And so if you're hunting big wide open fields, definitely this is going to be a better option. And the other thing not to forget about, I talked to a guy this week about this as well. He's buying a handheld thermal, and same kind of thing. He wants to use it with his night vision scope, but he said the way I'm justifying it is for deer hunting. Yeah. And that's something we'll probably talk about in a whole nother episode. We'll discuss that. But this is the kind of thing that if you want for daytime spotting while deer hunting, these Accions, all three of these are the size that you can throw in to your bag. Now, he asked me specifically about this model, and he said, how would this be for deer hunting? And I said, he goes, and recovering, dead deer, finding them. And I honestly wouldn't suggest the XM38 for that just because of the magnification. If you're getting into the woods or into thick brush, searching for something that you may be 10 to 30 yards from, not that saying you can't find it, but you just don't need that much magnification to do it. So, all right, so I'm going to put you on the spot. We didn't talk about this, but
great.
What would you say? So if a guy's sitting here listening to it and he says, I can afford all three models, but what model would you buy for what ranges? So let's say I'm going to, how far, how close and how far would you say each model, your opinion?
Starting off with the Key XM30, I think you're looking at, as far as an ID range, at the very high end 200 yards, and I think that's the high end range for ID. I think for the regular non-Key model XM30, you're going to be looking more. I think that you can ID at 400 yards with this. And the
XM30.
The XM30. I used it a bunch, and I was out in the field with it a bunch. So maybe it's because I'm used to ID. We're going to disagree, but I think you can ID at 400 yards with it.
ID what?
Deer and hogs. The difference between deer and hogs. But we have to be careful when we're talking about ID range, because we've got to also keep in mind, Jason, that you and I do this every night.
That's right.
We know how a deer walks. We know the stride a deer walks in. We know how the mannerisms of a hog, that a hog moves around a lot more than a deer does.
Moves different than a hog.
So my ID range at 400 yards might be somebody else's ID range at 300 yards.
Sure.
Keeping that in mind, it might be a little bit lower for people that aren't doing it as often as we are. For the XM38, you could probably add in another 100 yards on top of that. So had a high end 400 yards.
But what about this? What if a guy says, tell me how far generally I should buy this? Like if I'm going to be looking, I think we can say right now, if I'm going to, all my stuff is going to be 100 yards or less, buy a Key. Yeah. Doesn't matter. I mean, that's fine. What would you say on the XM30 would be a normal good range out to, like a close range, far range, like a 50 to what?
Yeah, so 50 yards, since it does have a higher magnification at that 4 power, I would think, man, you don't want anything too close. 4 power. Well, I'll tell you this. I was videoing some hogs with the XM30 at 30 yards, and I just stood there for 15 minutes videoing them, and I got a little concerned because it looked like they were right up my tail. So that was a little close. So I'd say XM30, 75 out to 175 to 200 yards is going to be in that range. If you've got to do, if you're a coyote hunter out in the Midwest and you're depending on ID and coyotes, anything past that, you're either going to have to use the XM38 or you're going to have to look at getting a Helion model with even more, more of a bigger objective lens, and also with more range.
I don't disagree with that. I would say generally, I personally think that the value in this line is the regular XM30 for $21.99. Mm-hmm. That's the model that I'm going to keep. That's the model I'm going to use. I think that it's a $300 upgrade from the Key model. I don't really need the 4 power, but the benefit in the better image quality because of the AMOLED display that these regular Accions have compared to the LCOS display little lower resolution that the Key model has. I think that for me, the XM30 is kind of like the middle of the road, the way to go for me. And I would say that generally, if somebody said what's a normal range for it, I'd say 50 to 300. And again, I'm looking 500 every night, and I'm still using it. So I think you can do that. I think if you know you're going to have a ton of stuff, if most of your stuff's going to be over 200 yards, then I would definitely start considering the XM38. And I think Hans just said it. If you're hunting farm country, if you're hunting coyotes in the Midwest, I think the 38 is a really good option for that, for reaching out there. But I do think that the regular XM30 is kind of the middle of the road, just best option for price, value.
I think in the review videos that I've done on my own YouTube channel, Hans East Texas, Hans ETX, shameless plug right there. So, when I was doing the review of the Key XM30, at the end of the video, I suggested, hey, for $300 more, this is what you can get. And so I think the best buy is going to be that XM30 model.
For the average person.
For the average person, that doesn't need to ID out past further than 200 and 300 yards.
That's right.
But again, $25.99 is the price of this XM38. I think Pulsar has done a great job of filling a void in the market when it comes to handheld thermal monoculars and a price range. I think this is what it was designed to do, and I think for what it was designed to do and the price point that it's at, I think it's a good buy.
I know we've gone over these, endlessly on the other reviews, but I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are listening to this and watching this that have only seen this one. So a lot of times Hans and I are bad about assuming everybody has seen every video or listened to every podcast, and we know that's not true. So I do want to mention a couple quick things on these batteries. They do come with one battery. It is rechargeable. This unit, I tested the unit, and I got almost within like a minute and a half of 3 hours exactly. That's normal temperatures. That's 70 degrees in the house, turning it off and on several times throughout the day and timing it. In the field, obviously, I think if you got a whole bunch of turning it off, turning it on, if there's video recording, if you're manipulating other things using that battery, I think you're going to get less than 3 hours. But I think it'll be somewhere close to that. I talked to a customer this week who said that he's been using his in the field and keeping really close tabs on it, and he said he was getting right around over 2.5 hours, not quite 3. So that's kind of where I was at with it. One more thing I want to mention is that these batteries are sold separately. We do have them in stock. They're $99 to get an extra battery. When you buy a regular Accion XM30 or 38, it comes with a charger. You can actually charge 2 of these battery packs at one time. So last night, knowing that Hans was coming, knowing we're going to use these things, I pulled all my batteries out, and I was able to charge 2 at a time in one charger, which is nice. Now, if you buy a Key, there is not a charger with it. You can buy that extra, or you can just plug in the USB cable right here on the side. I don't know if I can get that open. There's just a little rubber flap right there that you plug in, and you can plug it in the wall and charge it that way.
I would highly suggest picking up another battery for these. I think it's worth it. 3 hours goes pretty quick sometimes, especially if you turn it on an awful lot, and it does run down that battery faster. So for $99, you can have an extra battery for it. You can switch them in and out when you're out in the field, because sometimes we're using these things a lot more than we realize, especially a spot and scope and a scanner. But y'all go check these out at outdoorlegacygear.com. If you're interested in purchasing, you have buying questions, you can always call Jason at 877-350-1818. He's happy to take your phone calls, answer all your questions. Sometimes when you call, you may get me, depending on what's going on.
Depends if you're lucky or unlucky, however you want to look at it.
But you can go check these out again at outdoorlegacygear.com. It's listed on the website. You can also do your own looking at all 3 models, compare and contrast. But if you're trying to nail down what the best unit for you is, reach out to us, give us a call. We want to walk you through this. We want to talk you through this. And in a lot of cases, Jason, people can buy a unit that is less expensive than they thought they wanted or needed. But it would be more suited for their hunting situation or their hunting style, and end up having a better unit, less expensive, and everybody's happy. So
that's right.
go check it out, outdoorlegacgear.com. We also wanted to talk a little bit about refresh rates.
Yeah, okay, so last week on episode 54,
This is
54, all right, of the podcast, we did just basically some thermal basics, an overview of a lot of different terms and that sort of thing, and we honestly got rushed in there because I did all the talking, and Hans just sitting over there twiddling his thumbs, and the viewers were bored, and it was terrible, but I was rushing because
I want to clear the record. We got a lot of good feedback from that show. We actually really did, which I was surprised because Jason did talk the whole entire time.
He was surprised.
But we did get a lot of good feedback. A lot of, because of the discussion, I think a lot of people out there see a lot of these terms. They didn't know them. But one of the things that came up in a comment or a question was the refresh rates on these.
Okay, so yeah, we've got a listener who's been with the show from the beginning, and Kevin, he knows who he is, and so he sent us an email and he brought something up that he's dead on with this. And I was thinking about this when I was doing it, but I was scared to go down this path because I knew it was just going to take longer. And I can't see Hans when we're doing it normally because he's at his house and I'm at mine. But I knew he was just tapping his foot over there with a stopwatch, so I didn't go on. But Kevin is dead on this, so I want to bring it up. I talked about the refresh rates being 30 hertz and 60 hertz, and I said how it really doesn't matter what the refresh rate is for normal hunting conditions. And Kevin didn't disagree with that, but there are older optics and some less expensive optics. I don't know, some are still expensive. There's some optics out there, not many left, that are under 30 hertz. Okay, and my advice would be don't buy those optics. I'm just going to blanket. There's always exceptions to every rule, but what happens is if you do get down there into the 7, 9, 12, or 20, that is where the human eye can start to pick up the fact that there's not enough frames per second. 30 hertz is the base, and normally at 30 hertz, at normal movements, your eye can't pick up any dropped frames. But when you get down there into these low frame units, per second, then when you start moving, it starts cutting out because you're losing frames. And you will see that. It gets choppy. And it is not ideal. I would not advise buying one of those units. Pulsar used to have some of those. They've been discontinued for probably 3 years now. Probably 3 years. FLIR still has some of their models out, and some of the Scouts are normally in the handhelds is where you're going to find those. And one reason that a lot of manufacturers were doing that at one point, number one, it was cheaper. Number two, there's some rules with exporting that would allow them to get those units exported more easy outside of the U.S. They were exportable. And so because they had the lower frame rate, and that met some of the federal regulations. So with that said, in today's market, where we're at, 2019, I would not buy anything less than 30 hertz. There's just no reason to do it. So I did want to clear that up. When I said it doesn't matter, I don't think it really matters between 30, 50, or 60 for the average guy. But what we have seen is every single unit Pulsar makes is 50 hertz. FLIR, all of their thermosites have gone to 60 hertz. Everything seems to be going that direction. So for whatever that's worth, I don't think we're going to have to worry about it in a few years. Some of the scopes I'm not 100% sure about. Some of the ATNs, they don't list sometimes some of those specs, and that's worrisome. But that's another topic for another day.
Well, I will push back a little bit on you because I wasn't tapping my foot while you were talking in episode 54 of the whole show. I just sent you a text message that said, wrap it up.
He did it. I didn't see it till it was over. I tried to look at my phone, and I was like, what's the text? Yeah, wrap it up.
I was pulling the plug on Jason, on the Jason show on last episode. But so that is a good recap of the refresh rates and some clarification. And thank you, Kevin, for bringing that to our attention. We do read all the emails that come in, all the text messages. If you want to text us, we'd really love to share your picture on social media. We do get a lot of people that text and email us, but you can text us at picture at 903-833-4461. And you can always email us show suggestions, pictures, all that kind of stuff at thelatenightvisionshow.com. So tonight, Jason, you and I are hunting again. What is the over and under for hogs and coyotes, do you think?
Oh, wow. I'm going under on everything.
You haven't even heard the number yet.
It doesn't matter. I'm going under. I choose under. Always go under. So tonight what we're going to do is I got a good buddy of mine that has got a place. I don't know, I've hunted with him for years on this place. It used to be pasture, 400 or 500 acres. They planted it in pine trees, just clear cut it. And I drove out there today, and it looks like the backside of the moon. I mean, there is nothing out there. They're getting ready to replant pine trees on it again. And so there is nothing, and it is a beautiful rolling hills. You can see forever. And so we're going to go out there and try to call some coyotes. I think the hogs are going to be limited because there's really no food sources right there on this place. They own several more 100 acres around it, mostly pine trees. They're not, no corn feeders or anything right now, so probably not a lot of hogs. We may try to call a few around some of the wooded areas just to try, but we're going to try to call in some coyotes and see what we can do. And I'm still going under. Whatever.
He hadn't even heard the number yet, y'all. So
the other thing is that last night we had a just torrential flood. I don't know how much rain we got, but I've got a
down here in the south we call them turd floaters.
Yeah, it's a turd floater. I've got a rain gauge that holds 6 inches, and in 2 hours it overflowed 6 inches. So I don't know. Neighbor a couple miles down the road said they had 9 inches in they had a big gauge. I don't know. All I know is that everything is wet. Everything's a mess. Standing in water. When I rode up to that place today after church, it's a muddy mess. So we're gonna have to stay on the roads, and we may be calling somebody to tow us out.
Well, with that convergent collar that we've been using, we'll be able to hopefully pull out some hogs out of some woods. Maybe we'll get them in from far away.
Yeah, I tell you what, when you talk about too on another show, we hadn't done it, is when you talk about that convergent sidewinder. That's the small call that goes on the side of your rifle. We've got those in stock now as well. So that's a neat little unit. But yeah, we're gonna go out and we're going to try anyway.
So stay tuned next week because you'll get to hear, hopefully this isn't embarrassing, but you'll be able to hear how we did.
We've never had a really good, I should say, we always have fun.
We have fun.
And if he's not here, I've got hogs everywhere on my place. Right now I hadn't seen a hog in 2 weeks. Yeah. If I go with him, he's telling me about all these hogs, showing me cell phone pictures on the way up. I get there and all of the hogs are gone.
It's especially with this trip, it's there's been a lot of rain here in the last several weeks. It's just all these floods and rains have just done a number on hogs, and they're so erratic right now it's hard to really judge what's going to happen. But we're going to go out there and try to make some hay, and we'll see what we're going to do. We're going anyway. We may not be successful, but we're going to try hard, and we're going to try to look hard and look good at doing it or something.
We're not going to look good, but we're going to. Now, we always have a good time, and hey, y'all know this. It's a lot of fun. You're not, quote-unquote, successful every time, but it's a successful hunt is a good hunt that you enjoyed, and as long as Hans and I get to go out and goof off and mess with all this thermal, we're having a good time. So.
Stay tuned for the behind-the-scenes. For all you YouTube subscribers, there's going to be a behind, and Jason is not thrilled about this.
Not happy.
Because I've already started.
I'm setting up, and he's up here filming me. Well, I didn't know what he was doing. I was like, what is this?
Stay tuned to the YouTube channel because there's going to be a behind-the-scenes video of some hunts that we're going on tonight. Jason out here on the land. I want y'all to get to know exactly who Jason Robertson is. I'm here at his home, and we're going to give you a behind-the-scenes exclusive.
I'm going to have to edit all of this. I'm going to have to see this before he shows it.
Well, thank y'all for joining us again this week. I know it says on the paper for you to close, but I'll just go ahead and close it out.
You just go right
Go ahead and go follow us, The Late Night Vision Show. You can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. The YouTube channel is growing like crazy. We got a lot of views. We're doing reviews on scopes, doing all kinds of topics on coyote and hog hunting. So go check it out on the Late Night Vision Show on YouTube. Mr. Jason Robertson, you can find him on Facebook. You can find him on Instagram. Go check out his website, outdoorlegacygear.com. You can call him at 877-350-1818. And myself, you can find me on Instagram at Hans ETX. That's HANS ETX. You can also find me on YouTube at Hans ETX. Put out videos on a weekly basis. So thank y'all for joining us again this week. So we'll
hope
see y'all next week. Stay safe in the fields. Keep making them bacon pancakes.